Recording in progress.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Today is Friday, December 8th, and I am so glad each and every one of you are here. First up in our program today is Dr. Joe Michaels with our invocation, followed by Doug Briley with the national anthem. Please rise with me.
Let us pray together. In this moment of unity together, let us draw upon our hearts that bind us all together as Rotarians. May our endeavors be guided by our commitment to service, goodwill, and fellowship in all that we think, say, and do. As we join hands in this journey, let us express our heartfelt gratitude for our American fighting men and women in harm's way at this hour. May their selfless service inspire us to work toward a world where peace, compassion, and understanding prevail. We pray for those Rotarians in Israel and Gaza, that you will guide, keep, and protect them in the war that is currently ongoing in that part of the world. We give thanks for our elected representatives, that you are with them today to provide the guidance and direction that is beneficial to all of us. We give thanks for the food that we are about to partake, the hands that have prepared it and the hands that have served it. And these things we all pray, amen. Amen. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Dr. Michaels. All right, next up. Tammy Terra, where are you at? Come on up, Tammy, and give us our visitor welcome. There you are.
Hello and welcome. Hello, welcome everybody. I'd like to introduce our guests. And in light of time, I'm not going to be able to read off all the names, but if I may have all of our guests and visiting Rotarians stand, we would love to give you a warm welcome. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you very much, Tammy. And yes, welcome all of our guests. We're so glad you're here today. So those of you who aren't familiar with Rotary, we have this thing called the four-way test. Now, the four-way test is something that every Rotarian all over the world uses kind of as a filter for anything we think, say, or do. If it doesn't meet the test, well, we try not to do those things. So if you will, please read along with me. Number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Also, have an announcement. There's holiday cards on the table you see in front of you. If you would, those are for the USS Fort Worth soldiers, and the Fort Worth obviously is the ship. Beg your pardon? The Sailors. Oh, sailors, sorry. For the Marines, no. Okay, for the sailors on the USS Fort Worth, that'll make the roast. If you would take a moment, please sign those, because we're going to collect those up later and send them on to them to wish them some good holiday wish, or give them some good holiday wishes. Next up, Andy Taft, past president, is going to come up and give us our newscast. Where are you at, Andy? There you are.
Please sit down. Leave it to JR to shout out sailors. Again, thank you for that rousing round of applause. I feel about as welcome as Florida State at the Sugar Bowl. Sheriff, this one's for you. In response to a new city audit, now the only Fort Worth police officers allowed to take home their city vehicles are on the bike patrol. Last Friday, Vladimir Putin moved to prolong his repressive and unyielding grip on Russia for at least another 6 years by announcing his candidacy in the presidential election that will be held next March. Gentlemen, and I'm speaking now to our guest speakers today, let's get your election integrity unit geared up for that one. Yeah. More breaking news from the international desk. The CEO of IKEA was elected Prime Minister of Sweden. He's assembling his own cabinet. The DA didn't even smile at that one. Last Sunday, a national referendum vote in Venezuela resulted in a landslide victory for the proposition that Venezuela should annex the adjoining oil-rich territory, and that territory includes 2/3 of the land area of the neighboring nation of Guyana. So let's plant that seed and see if Canada wants Washington State, Oregon, and California. Oh, thank you. A zoo, well, hang on a second. I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. Hang on. Yeah, I guess we'll do it this way. No, we're not going to do that. A zoo in the Punjab region of Pakistan has been shut down after it was discovered during a routine cleaning that one of the tigers had a shoe in its mouth. While the owner of the shoe hasn't been identified, one of the tiger's den cleaners was last heard saying, "Khalid, is that a shoe? Khalid? Khalid?" Okay. In its goal to diversify the supply chain away from China, Apple plans to produce 25% of all iPhones in India within 3 years. At full production, India will manufacture more than 50 million iPhones, and this should go a long way toward decreasing India's staggering unemployment rate among 6-year-olds. In domestic news, the proposed high-speed rail line between Las Vegas and Los Angeles just got on the fast track with a $3 billion grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation. At 180 miles an hour, the travel time will be cut in half between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. And no matter which way you look at it, this is going to be a quick way to a loss. No, I don't take pity. In a new first leveraging its size and global scale, McDonald's is partnering with Google to create an AI chatbot. The first thing it will do is help employees make actual decisions, and the second thing it will do is help employees make actual food. Okay, we know where you eat. This Monday, over 9 tons of cocaine seized from 6 separate drug smuggling events was offloaded in San Diego. Nobody in Southern California has slept for 3 days. In related news, the cocaine has an estimated street value of more than $230 million, and it was recovered off the coasts of Mexico, Central America, and South America by 2 awesome U.S. Coast Guard ships that had to go super fast and work really hard, and all the bad guys, they had them all, cornered, and it was really awesome, said a U.S. Coast Guard spokesperson. In a press release last week, Wendy's announced that they are giving their customers, quote, 12 days of Christmas deals beginning December 9th and running through December 20th. That sounds about right. Okay. Microsoft has launched a research paper for a widely anticipated glass storage technology that it's backing to replace conventional hard drives. Competing tech companies hope they drop it. Maybe when you get home. A Disneyland guest was arrested for removing all of his clothes and walking in the buff through the It's a Small World ride this week. That you laugh at. Which is possibly the worst answer to the question, so what are you in for? In Mount Kisco, New York, a Chopped restaurant customer has filed suit against the company for biting into her salad and chewing on a piece of the manager's finger. So hey, enjoy your lunch. The weather this weekend will be bright and sunny with temperatures in the brisk 60s and mid-50s. Have a great weekend.
As always, thank you, Andy. Greg Carter, where are you at? Come on up here, give us an announcement about the We Care event.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. That was a masterful job by Mr. Tapp threading that needle, so great job, buddy. So, thank you very much. This is our last chance to issue a call for volunteers. This is our 5th annual We Care event. It's next week. This is where we come together to help about 200 kids in the Stop 6 to make presents and gifts for their family and their friends. There's 2 ways to sign up. On your tables is a QR code or an old school handwritten note. We need about 30 chaperones, pizza servers, face painters. Come join us for an hour. Come join us for 3 hours. It's December 12th, next Tuesday. Thank you, Cap.
Thank you, Greg. I, for one, will be out there. This is a great event. One of the things that impressed me the most, I was talking with Greg about this, and he said, they've been doing this 5 years now, so at the same place, and they're seeing the same kids, so they're actually watching these kids grow up and are part of that experience and helping them make gifts for their parents when oftentimes they wouldn't have any other way to do that. So please join us if you can on this. We'd love to get a really good turnout out of our club. I think it's going to be a great experience for all of us. Next up, all the way from South Africa. Where you at, Kayla? Come on up and bring your guests with you, and let's do this.
I'm gonna have to move this. Hi, I'm Kaylee Scott, and myself, along with my colleagues that are in the cohort with me in the executive MBA program at TCU, visited South Africa this summer as a part of our program, and while we were there, we visited the Rotary Club in South Africa. And so the mission statement for Rotary International states, we provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through our fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. So there's some pictures of our trip to South Africa, and then I'm going to let Shanna and Shailene talk about their key takeaways from our visit.
Thank you, Kaylee. So Kaylee's the one that corralled us all to get us there. We got to attend a great meeting with the Great Reef Rotary Club. The biggest takeaway for me was the instant feeling of community. We made friends immediately, even though we had just met. They joined us for our last night in Joburg, which hopefully there are no pictures of that. And but even came and met us at the airport to see us off, and then one of the young ladies had to come to New York for work, and I met her up there. And so fast friends that we've now gotten to meet on 2 different continents. So it was just a really, really rewarding experience.
Thank you, Shanna. So like Shanna said, it was an amazing experience to meet diverse group of individuals coming from different backgrounds all over the world. So we met few people who were from Europe, who were local to South Africa, who were from different places, and it was just amazing to just know them and get together and make lifelong friends. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. All right, and so without further ado, here is the 4 Ways Main Reef Rotary Club flag from South Africa.
Okay, thank you.
I love getting these flags. This is really cool. And this one is like really thick. Interesting. Thank you so much, all 3 of you, for this. For those of you who are planning on going on trips somewhere, consider going to a Rotary meeting. If you do, though, before you go, stop by the office and pick up a flag, or if you're going on an extended trip, pick up a couple flags from Aurora. Take them with you on your trip, and when you find the Rotarians, the tradition is swap flags with them. Next up, Kathy Sheffield. What are you talking about? No, we'll find out.
I know you're all in suspense. Well, our treasurer, Tom Law, reminded me that our dues are due coming up soon, which is the perfect prompt for me to let you know and remind you that you have an opportunity to make a donation to not only our chapter, our Rotary Fund. We have 2 endowments or 3 opportunities. The first one is the Children's Fund. The second is the Military and Veteran Affairs Fund, which is part of our overall endowment fund. So you have those 3 opportunities, and if you make a gift to the one of our 2 endowments, you get the gold badge, which Kirk described as coveted last night. But there's a very special opportunity right now with our district, and they are doubling any gifts that are made to Rotary International. So, Tom, if you'll go to the next slide. I just wanted to let everybody know how you can do that. And are there no slides? Okay, imagine you're looking at the Rotary, your club runner page, our Rotary Club page, and you see an option that says donate. We've all seen those buttons before. Some of us click on them, some of us think better not to, but we encourage you to click on it. When you click on that button, you're going to get an option that says, would you like to give to Rotary International Annual Fund? And there's a program called Every Rotarian Every Year, and when you make a gift of $250 or greater, our district will match that dollar for dollar, and ultimately those funds come back to our club for us to be able to utilize for local projects. It's not necessarily a perfect dollar for dollar distribution back to us, but we do get some of that funds back to us so that we can contribute to local projects. So if you have any questions, unfortunately the slides are not there. If you have any questions, come see me and I'll show you how to navigate that. And I encourage every Rotarian to make a gift every year to the endowment fund here and to Rotary International. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Speaking of endowments, Chris Brim, come on up. I think we're going to give away some money today. All right. I like that.
Thank you, President Kirk. You know, when I'm out and about, people ask me all the time why I'm a Rotarian. And what I always tell them is 3 words: service above self. And one of the greatest things we do is give these grants out. And so without further ado, Our first grant is to Tarrant Area Food Bank in the amount of $5,000. Our second grant is for Patrick Worrell Memorial Foundation in the amount of $4,500 to provide bicycles for the International Newcomers Academy. The next grant is for $5,000 to Ladder Alliance to help purchase laptops for basic computer skills. And our final grant today is in the amount of $5,000 that will be matched by $5,000 to the Salvation Army to provide operational support.
Thank you, sir. Slide everyone down.
Yeah, slide down.
In front of the chairs. And let's get a big photo op there. All right. Squeeze the shot. Don't fall. All right.
Ready, everybody?
Thank you, everyone. One last round of applause for all of those grant winners. That is your endowment, your local endowment funds in action. All right, who took my script, Chris? Chris, you got my script? No, you got the script. Hey, you think I do this blind? No. All right, all my blue badges. Looks like I've got two today. Nicole Upton and Adolph Aguirre. Come on up. Let's exchange those reds for gold or for blue. All right. There you go. We'll get yours. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Congratulations, both of you. Congratulations. So, for those who are not in the know on this, when you become a member of the Fort Worth Rotary Club, you get the red badge. 6 acts of service to the club gets you a transition to the blue badge. So if you see any red badges in the room, guys, step it up. All right, now for the main event. Past President Don Pearson, Judge, Tarrant County Court at Law, come on up and introduce our guest for us, please. Thank you, sir. Come on up.
Come on, no, you come down. Thank you.
Is this microphone turned on? You know, you guys might, for those of you who don't know me, I really try to pretty much mind my own business. Stick to my own business, and anyway, I'm minding my own business, my phone rings, it's an unlisted number, and it's past President Sean. And past President Sean said, Don, would you please introduce the program? And I found out what the program is. I say, well, we got 3 people to introduce. What do you want me to talk about? She says, talk about 3 minutes and then sit down. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, do you have where are my remarks? Oh, here they are. Anyway, today's program is Criminal District Attorney Phil Sorrells, Sheriff Bill Wayburn, and County Judge Tim O'Hare. As different as their jobs are, they all work for Tarrant County, as I do. You can be certain of one thing, they all have a lot of moving parts in each of their jobs, and they're different, but they're going to explain whatever they explain to you. So we're going to start with District Attorney. I'm just going to give you a brief overview. If any of you people seen any of the 5,000 episodes of Law and Order, okay, you've got a good idea what the District Attorney does. Sheriff, has anybody seen El Dorado, Rio Bravo, or almost any John Wayne or Clint Eastwood Western? Yeah, you know what a sheriff does. As for county judge, Tim, I got nothing for you here. But I know it involves pushing papers, and he's told me he will not fix potholes. That's all I know. So anyway, here are each of them to tell their side of the story. Criminal District Attorney Phil Sorrells, Sheriff Bill Wayburn, and County Judge Tim O'Hare. Come on up here, guys.
There you go.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to speak before you, and thank you for the invite. Judge Pearson doesn't know what we do, but I can tell you his court is going to know at our mid-year budget review exactly what we do. Let me share some good news with you. A couple of things that happened today. Deputy Brent Brown, many of you heard about the deputy that was shot here 10, 12 days ago, shot twice. He's been at JPS, underwent surgery the night he was shot. He got out this morning at 11 o'clock, so he's out. He's on his way to recovery. So that's some good news.
The guy that shot him is not out.
He is not out. Now, one of the things there's some questions about, we'll talk about, you may have seen that the person who allegedly shot him had a $100,000 bail put up, which is not something that sat well with me, the DA, or the sheriff. They went into action quickly and said, we're not going to have this. So his bail was raised from $100,000 to $1 million in about 30 minutes, which is where it ought to be. So the other bit of good news, the World Series, everybody happy that the Rangers won, but yes, this morning, the Maricopa County, I guess my counterpart in Maricopa County where Phoenix is, they called our office and wanted to do a bet like elected officials do from time to time, so we agreed to, and the loser was going to have to donate to the other county's food bank. And little did I know that what they call them in Maricopa County is the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, but it's basically the same thing as county judge of our commissioner's court. What we did not know that the chairman of their Board of Supervisors is an egg farmer. And they donated this morning. We went to Tarrant Area Food Bank. He came in, flew in. They donated 51,840 eggs to the Tarrant Area Food Bank. So that was fantastic. We had a lot of news coverage out there. I think every one of the local stations, maybe but one, was there. And so hopefully that'll raise more awareness of Tarrant Area Food Bank, what they're doing, the great work they're doing. So thank you, Julie. Thank you, Jared. Got to visit with them this morning. It was really fun. Hopefully next year we can win it again. He'll come right back over here, or whoever it is. Go Rangers! Go Rangers. That's exactly right. So a couple things. The way we're going to do the format today is each one of us will go 5, 6, 7 minutes. And then when we have time, I'll ask them some questions. If y'all have questions, fire away. We're happy to answer them. I'll tell you, one of the things that I campaigned on and have worked very hard on from the time we got into office was reducing unnecessary and wasteful spending and reducing property taxes. So in the state government allows a county to have up to a 10% or 20% homestead exemption, and the Commissioner's Court of Tarrant County sets the property tax rates for both county property taxes and JPS property taxes. So you can have up to a 20% homestead exemption on both. Of the 6 largest counties in the state of Texas, all of them have the maximum 20% on their county property taxes, but one, that was Tarrant County. We had no homestead exemption of any kind. Back in late June, we passed, for the first time in the history of Tarrant County, homestead exemptions for both the county property taxes and the JPS property taxes. Our one homeowner, thank you, sir. And then we passed tax rates. The state sets up a formula where they calculate something called the no new revenue rate. In theory, if you pass the no new revenue rate, that means everyone is paying the same amount as they were the year before unless there's new construction, remodels, things like that. Well, for the first time in the history of Tarrant County, we passed tax rates for both the county and JPS below no new revenue. Now, let me tell you what that did. Some of you have gotten your tax bills in the mail, some of them go to your mortgage companies, but what your tax bills will show you, in addition to the amount due, it shows you on the back of it the percentage increases or reductions by each taxing entity that you pay taxes to. Your property tax bill is made up of your city property tax, your county property tax, your JPS property tax, your community college property tax, your city property tax, and for some in Tarrant County, your water district property tax. So if you look at what you got in the mail, or if you call your mortgage company and figure it out, you'll see that the tax rates that we are responsible for, the county property tax rate and the JPS property tax rate, if you got the maximum 10% homestead exemption, you will see that your taxes that you paid last year compared to the ones you'll pay this year are down over 14% for both taxing entities. If you were one of the lucky ones that were flat, you had no increase in your appraisal, your tax decrease for both entities will be somewhere around 23-24%, which is pretty significant. And the really cool thing about it, we did all of that and we literally didn't cut any services. And a lot of people say, well, how did you do that? Well, I'll give you one of the ways. So in our IT department, we had approximately 250 jobs that we continually couldn't fill over a period of several years. We were able to function fully, operate the county government pretty easily without these positions, but they kept these positions on the books. Well, those positions alone were a $30 million hit to taxpayers. We just eliminated the positions. So those were eliminated, even though there was no one in them. There's nobody that was laid off through that. We eliminated those positions. They've now been eliminated effective October 1, not a complaint one, not an issue one. So there were things like that we did all over the county. We have a plan in place to put the full 20% homestead exemptions in next year, the maximum allowed by state law. I think you'll see significant tax cuts again. And not only were there no cuts to services in the county, there weren't at JPS either. So the same amount of care that anyone would get before, they'll still get. The same amount of service they'll get, still happening. So we're pretty proud of what we've done with spending. The last thing I'll say about spending is I haven't found another one yet. Maybe there is, but I think we are the only taxing entity in the entire county that actually reduced our budget from one year to the next. So our budget went down $8.1 million. And that's something that we've worked on and we're all pretty proud of. And by the way, we have 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats on the Commissioner's Court. Those tax cuts and the budget, well, the tax cuts were passed unanimously, 5-0 with both. So a bipartisan effort to reduce property taxes, which hopefully everyone will be happy about when you cut that check. Another thing that I'll talk about, and these gentlemen will highlight these things far better than I will, is our commitment to public safety. So my opinion, my belief is the 2 most important responsibilities of government is 1 is protect your God-given rights, and number 2 is to keep you safe. And what we've seen in our country over the last several years is really an attack on law enforcement in ways that we've never previously seen in the history of this country. And it's having a significant effect on retention, recruitment. We have unfilled positions in the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office that we've had now for a couple of years. These are not throwaway positions or positions that you don't really need that we're overspending for. These are positions that we need, and there's at any given time over 300 openings in the Sheriff's Department that we are trying desperately to fill, but we are strongly committed to public safety, and I can tell you that our new DA, Phil Sorrells, who took office the same time I did, January 1st, and our Sheriff, Bill Wayburn, who's been in office now for, I guess it's 7 years yet? It's almost 7 years. We are incredibly fortunate to have these 2 gentlemen in these roles. They do what they say they're going to do. The things they campaign on is actually what they work on. And they'll tell you here in a little bit about some things they've done and some task forces that they've created that they're working on to help us all be safer and keep crime down in Tarrant County. So the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Phil is We've had a significant focus at the Tarrant County Commissioner Court on reducing spending, as I've discussed. We've had a significant focus on strong public safety. The thing that I want to really focus hard on next year is recruiting more companies with high-paying jobs. And if you're reading newspapers and watching news, you'll see corporate relocations happening literally all over the Metroplex, but just not many here. And the simple fact is we have underperformed in Tarrant County compared to the rest of the Metroplex. We are a growing county. We are going to continue to grow. You couldn't stop the growth if you wanted to stop it, but we want to make sure that we're not upside down in our tax base with residences paying too much of the tax bill, which countywide, that's kind of the way we are now. We want to bring in more high-quality companies, more high-paying jobs, and we're going to make that a major focus of this upcoming year to see if we can get mayors and city councils all over the county rowing in the same direction. I know we have a new chamber director. We have a new person that also helps out the chamber, and Rob Allen, y'all have probably met him or heard from him. So I think some good things are on the horizon, but we're going to make that a major focus, that we bring better paying jobs and high profile relocations to Tarrant County and not watch them go around the rest of the Metroplex. So with that, I'll turn it over to our DA, Phil Sorrells.
Thank you, Tim. I tell you that our most important job, I agree, is that it's keeping the community safe. And that's what we are trying to do in the DA's office. That's what the sheriff's doing. We work together on the jail. People are getting in there. We're trying not to let them get out unless, you know, they've served their time. And some of those people, we just want to change their address from your jail to Huntsville. And there's a lot of people that were doing that. But what we're finding is that we need your help. What I'm finding in the courtroom, what my lawyers are telling me when they're coming back, we need your help. The media has been on such an attack on law enforcement, and you think, well, that's just the police. Well, that has an impact all the way to the courtroom, and it has an impact on the jurors. So my lawyers are coming back down to my office telling me we don't feel like we're wearing the white hat anymore. People are suspect about us trying to prove that this guy actually killed the person that he's charged with, that we have a dying declaration for. We're having trouble in court with jurors. So what I'm here for is more about a public service, is the fact that you get these in the mail, it's a jury summons. And often I'll get calls, how do I get out of it? How do I get out of jury service? You're calling your friends, how do I get out of jury service? Judge Pearson, I'm sure he gets it. Can you get me out of jury service? We need you to respond to the call, because if you're not coming downtown, then who's going to come down and hear these cases? Who's going to pass judgment on these cases if you're not coming down? It's going to be people that have a different agenda if you're not coming down. And oftentimes you hear interesting things at the courthouse. I'll tell you a couple of things. That I finished a trial at one point in my career, and I go over, and the defendant wanted to talk to me, and he wanted to tell me, look, I want to tell you something. And he said, now those officers, when they testified, they told a lot of lies. Now, when I testified, I only told one lie, and I think you know which one that was. It was a DWI case. I'm sure it was about how much he had to drink. Recently, this year, we had a prosecutor who, in his closing argument, it was his first trial, he tells the jury to find the defendant not guilty. Now, the jury heard the evidence, so they disagreed with our prosecutor, went in and found him guilty. But we have a little juror, sometimes we have lawyers up there a little nervous. We had another lawyer that was trying a case. It was an indecent exposure. So an indecent exposure, you got to prove that it was for sexual gratification. And so the defense was, well, I mean, we could see it, but it wasn't aroused. And this was a female prosecutor, one of her first trials, and she's saying, well, he doesn't get a pass just because he can't get it up. Jury agreed with that. They didn't give him a pass. We had a murder trial. The guy was a pro se defendant, and he killed his wife. And this was a really hard case. He killed his wife, and so and he's representing himself, so he's the one doing the questioning, and he has his father-in-law on the stand who is very upset that he's having to talk to the person that just killed or had killed his daughter. And out of frustration, finally he said, look, Ricky, we didn't have any murderers in our family until you, which didn't take the jury very long to convict him. But we need you down there. Let's see if there was any of these other cases that I thought about. Well, we had one guy, his capital murder case, picking a jury on a capital murder case. And capital murder case is a little different when you're going for the death penalty. You do individual voir dire, individual jury selection. So you talk to the prospective jurors one at a time, and we're asking this one man whether he could give the death penalty. And he thought for a minute, and he said, well, I've never done it before, and I got to work tomorrow, but I'm free on Saturday. So, I mean, that's the kind of guy you want on your jury. He's ready to do it himself. So that's kind of the zealot guy that we'd like to have on a jury. Now, we need you down there, and we need you as a fair and impartial juror. And oftentimes we have jurors that are just gung-ho. They're saying, we want to hang them high. We'll go in there and we'll find them guilty. Well, we need you to hear the facts first. Because if you say that at the beginning, then you're not going to be on the jury. You need to be a fair and impartial juror. Judge these cases fairly, and think about it. You wouldn't buy a house unless you had an inspection report, unless you learned everything about it. That's an important decision. And when you get down the jury service, just think about that. When these lawyers are asking you questions about being fair and impartial, could you consider the full range of punishment? Of course you can. You're reasonable, and you're going to wait to hear the facts before you make a decision. So when you get this summons, first, respond to it. Come down. We need you. And when you get asked these questions, just think about that you are a reasonable person, and you'll wait to hear the facts before you can make a decision. So, Sheriff, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, you can all go home and say the DA said I'm a reasonable person. That would help out probably any relationship at home that you might have. I'm the reasonable person. But these guys are great partners from my perspective as the good judge was on leading. When I came into office, we've been fighting this for a number of years, as our deputies were one of the lowest paid in the DFW area. When we set a path, and they are now on the rise, and a reasonable rise, and we think before long we'll be out better than Fort Worth. That's the plan, Kurt. Yes. About the time you retire, we'll take you. And also, I appreciate the Christmas cards. We signed those over there, and I put on there, Merry Christmas, we're hiring, when can you be here? But anyway, but the judge is doing a great job for you. You heard all the accomplishments he has, and he's continuing to do that. And he is truly a leader that is doing that. Phil got into office, and I guarantee you, he took off. And when he came in office, we were kind of in a stalemate in the jail where many things weren't moving in the jail. That means we had a lot of people in there. We hit a high this summer of 4,800 people in jail. This morning we're at about 4,200 or so that are in custody. And just a couple of weeks ago, they've slowed down a little bit. In a 3-week period, we sent somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 people to TDC in a 3-week period, and that was the hard work of the DA's office, pushing them through our judicial system and going where they need to go. You know, nobody here is letting folks out and come back into your neighborhood that doesn't need to be. Phil's done a great job on that. The other things besides the jail that we do, we also do court security, or we have deputies in our court to make sure that the courts are the last line of civility in our country. So we've got to protect those courtrooms and make sure that they can function and do the people's business. Then we do have regular patrol officers that are out in the county patrolling, about 75,000 people who we answer to out there. We've got a couple of cities that we are the law enforcement for. And then we have CID, and then we get into the specialty issues. We have the largest auto theft task force in the state of Texas. And we not only cover Tarrant County, but a couple of adjoining counties. And a lot of people forget about those guys, but they are putting a lot of bad guys in jail. I believe they recovered somewhere in the neighborhood of 56 cars just this last month. And they also recovered a Mustang stolen out of Fort Worth in 1983. Yeah, it's a classic, so we'll hopefully keep it and put it in a parade or something. No, I'm just teasing. But our auto theft group is good, and our narcotics task force is a very vigorous task force. And I want to give you some numbers real quick to tell you what's happening in relationship to going on in the border. Is in 2020, that task force took $3.5 million worth of street value drugs off the street. That's 2020. In 2021, they took $21 million of street value drugs off the street. Last year, it was $35 million. We have seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in Tarrant County a couple of times. And we're vigorously fighting that. We are arresting cartel members that are confessed cartel members that we know that they're decision makers, and they're right here, and they're involved in several things, including murder, including human trafficking and those kind of things. But they're in jail where they need to be, and we're going to continue to do that. We also have an excellent human trafficking task force. They've done an incredible job. We got them up in 17, and they have been running the show, and now we've collaborated across the DFW area. And if you come here and you want to get involved in human trafficking, we will put you in jail. And we've got the feds on board. We're getting sentences in federal court. We've got some cases pending in state court. Thank you. And I mean, a 2-day operation last week, they rescued 20 people out of human trafficking, and they put about 30 people in jail for either trafficking or soliciting sex, which is now a felony in the state of Texas. In fact, we're the only state right now that is a felony. So those people will be seeing time. This is not something to be had. And some really, really sad cases in regards to those people that we're arresting on that. They come from all walks of life. All walks of life. You know, we've arrested pastors. In fact, 2 months ago, we got a youth pastor that we arrested. And, you know, the Gala people, he came into the location that we were set up in, expecting him, and his wife and 3 kids were out in the parking lot waiting in the car. They had no idea what was going on. Just human tragedy all the way around. But we've arrested doctors, lawyers, and cops, unfortunately. But people come from all walks of life, chancellors of universities. But the human trafficking team, keep them on your prayer list because they see a lot of awful things. And right now, the focus is child pornography. And this guy was filed on in federal court, and I'm not a technology person, but he had 5 terabytes of child pornography, 5 terabytes that he was trading and selling all over the world. And but we filed in federal court because state court is limited to what they could have done with him. Federal court has a lot better reach, but we're asking. The legislatures are working on higher penalties for that particular thing. People who go after our children should not be tolerated to ever breathe free air again. And we're going to do that in Tarrant County. But that's some of the things that we do. Our narcotics, our human trafficking, we've got people in DEA and other task force that helps out there, but we also have what I refer to as a cowboy unit. We have 3 deputies assigned with horses, and they round up cows and they cowboy every day. And a lot of people say, well, that's a pretty fun job. That's a hard-working job. Let me tell you, those guys work really, really hard, put their lives in jeopardy. We had one deputy pinned down by a Mexican fighting bull a few weeks ago, and he's okay, but those horns went on each side of his body. I mean, thank goodness he was on a diet and a little bit skinny. But so we do that too. And but it's a pleasure and honor to be your sheriff, and it's a great pleasure and honor to have a great team with Phil and Tim. And he mentioned Brent Brown. We sent him home today. It was a great gathering. He's doing great, but he's still got a ways to go. So if you're praying people and you've been praying for him, you keep him right there on that list. And yesterday, and I'll stop with this, is when those things happen, we come together as a community. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our brothers in law enforcement, but the community's been outpouring. It's been incredible. I got a call yesterday from an old friend who's 102. She's 102 years old, and she was a little bit confused. She thought it was me that got shot, and she was just hearing about it. So she called her son. Son, no, we've talked. He didn't get shot, and then she called me to make sure she had the name so she could be praying for him. She says, I'll pray for him every day. And she's 102 years old, sharp as a tack, and now I'm going to tell you who she is. That would be Chuck Norris's mom, so I think he's going to be just fine. But anyway, thank you all for having us. It's truly an honor to be here with you.
Yes, so Sheriff Wayburn is a humble man, and he doesn't like to brag, but he actually started the Human Trafficking Task Force, and I believe it was the first of its kind anywhere. They have rescued literally hundreds of women and children from sex trafficking, including last year someone that was 4 years old. So what he is doing is remarkable work, and we appreciate his efforts. Yeah, you can applaud for that. So here's a way that the three of us work together. How many of you have heard of Temptations, the strip club? Don't raise your hand if you've been there, is why you've heard of it. But so
work there.
We had in unincorporated Tarrant County, there is one strip club, or there was, it was called Temptations. It was a haven for crime, for sex trafficking, drug trafficking. It was one of the most vilest places and crime-filled, and it was next door to a neighborhood. And I mean, literally the neighbors in the neighborhood would tell you that they had been hearing, they hear gunshots almost on a nightly basis, certainly on a weekly basis, incredibly unsafe. And, you know, when I got into the county on January 1, I heard all about, we've been trying to close that thing down for years. Well, we took action. And myself, along with one of our commissioners, Manny Ramirez, did everything we could to figure out ways to shut this thing down, and we found it. And we sued them, we changed bylaws, we did some legal maneuvering, and Phil Sorrells, their team sued. The sheriff's office was down there enforcing different things that courts put in place. And it was, I guess, late this summer that Temptations was shut down and shut down permanently. So Tarrant County will never have to deal with them ever again. And that was a team effort from not just the three of us, but the entire DA's office, the sheriff's office, and of course, Commissioner Manny Ramirez. But the other commissioners also wanted to see the same thing happen. So that's a way we work together. We talked about the Human Trafficking Task Force, and we're shutting this down what time? Tell me. 57, okay. So the Human Trafficking Task Force has been a great thing that Sheriff Wayburn has brought into Tarrant County. Phil has brought in something new, started something new called the Narcotics Unit in the DA's office, which you all have heard of fentanyl and the number of deaths that are happening. There was actually a former judicial candidate that died a couple of weeks ago, we think from fentanyl poisoning. I don't know if the toxicology is back yet, but Phil Sorrells announced that they've started a new narcotics unit in the DA's office. I think you announced that last week. Tell us about that and what all that's going to do and why we have a need for it.
Well, because drugs runs almost all the crime. If you look at any of the crime that's going on in our community, it's going to be drug-related. Somebody's killing somebody over drugs, somebody's breaking into your house because they have a habit and they need to get money to pawn something. The violence is happening because of the drugs. We've had 2,500 overdoses so far just here in Tarrant County, and 300 people have died. It is a serious problem, not just because of the crime, but just what it's doing to our population. Those cases, when you're looking at cases that you're going to try and things that courts think are important, and it is important when you have a victim. So you have a victim in a murder case, a rape case, robbery case, but a drug case, there's not somebody that the victim advocate is really pushing forward. So we have to put a group together that's going to focus on those. And I know just this past week, I know they passed a new law about murder. So the legislature passed a law that if you deliver fentanyl or a drug to someone and they die, then we can charge you with murder. Well, we didn't have that law until recently. So just this past week, we had a case where we convicted a guy of delivery causing serious bodily injury. He got 15 years in jail, in the penitentiary, because we're serious about it. We're going after people that are feeding this poison to our kids.
I'm
On that note, if I may add, is that, one, I appreciate y'all's effort to the underprivileged children that are going to receive those gifts. But keep in mind, as dovetailing off of what Phil said, is 80% of our jail population have three things in common as a general rule. One, they've never had a father in their life, so they grew up a lot on the streets. Two, they don't have a high school education. And three, they're motivated by narcotics.
So we're going to support that on the Commissioner's Court level. Your narcotics unit we already have. We will continue to do so. Sheriff, I want you to talk to folks, and then after this, we'll take a couple of questions before we call it a day here. I want you to talk to the folks about, so the Sheriff's Department runs the jail, which has at any given time around 4,000 people in confinement, give or take 200-300 depending on the time of year. But then there's also a very large, what they call operations, which is basically a police department. The Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, we call it the operations side, but the police department of it is the third largest police department in Tarrant County behind Fort Worth and Arlington. But they also serve as backup for every single crime committed in the county from any where any law enforcement agency has to go deal with it. And so there's kind of this misnomer, a great misnomer, that the sheriff runs the jail and that's what he does, but he has a significant operations side, and I want you to touch on what that's like, because inside a municipality, especially like a suburban municipality, they got a tiny little area, sometimes 2, 3, 5, 10 square miles. Fort Worth, the largest police department in the largest area covering the county, really large, different animal, but the sheriff has 902 square miles to cover with his operations. So touch on the operations side and what all it is that you do and how difficult that is dealing with it in a whole entire county.
Well, thank you, Judge, is that we do have that, and we have all the unincorporated area, which about 75 to 80,000 people live in, and we police that. So the patrol officers are there. We also have Edgecliff Village is one of our patrol area, and Hazlitt is that we have those two cities. We believe that as the years pass by, some of the smaller agencies can't keep up with the pay for law enforcement. We're probably going to end up with them, so we're going to see more municipalities. There's 41 municipalities in Tarrant County right now. We've assisted every one of them, and many of them have assisted us in calls and crime scenes and so forth like that. For the smaller municipalities, we are the crime scene for them. We are the SWAT team for them. We are the fugitive team for them. For some of our smaller agencies, we do that. We provide that. Those people pay county taxes, and that'd be the level of service that we were providing. We also have a very vigorous fugitive unit that is in all the metro area that are looking for bad guys every day. They're in Fort Worth or in Arlington and so forth like that. And I know we're running out of time. There's a snapshot of that.
Yeah, all right, so I think we've got time for 2 questions. So right over there, yes, sir.
One of the things that your office does unique, we have criminal cartel people in Tarrant County, and you have a specific program where you deputize for federal permission to keep those guys locked up. Talk about, I think it's called 529 program or something.
You're talking about the 287G program. Thank you. We're halfway there. Currently what we do is we have people trained inside the jail, in the brick and mortar of the jail, where if somebody comes in and they have illegally entered this country, they're identified, and we partner with ICE to put what we call detainers on them. When the state finishes with them, they go to customs and immigrations. And probably today, best guess on the average is we have about 200 that are in jail, representing probably about 20 countries across the world. About today. There was one Canadian there, and we don't know how he got there.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. All right, last question here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've seen disaster and chaos in Portland, Minneapolis, and all other cities. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of you all and your teams for keeping us safe.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much. And it is, all right, we'll do one more here. I know you want to get out. Go ahead.
Game room, Southeast Fort Worth. What initiatives to reduce, eliminate game rooms? We don't have gambling here in the state of Texas. We have game rooms that I think neighborhoods.
we're coming after them with the gust of a hound dog, and we're prosecuting those people, and we're working with Fort Worth and other agencies to also prosecute them. Yes.
We get people coming into my office wanting to, well, they want to open up game rooms, and I said, until they change the law, it's illegal. We're going to enforce the law.
Yeah, it is an honor to be here, and before you, it's an honor to be your county judge. I know I speak for them when they say the same thing, and thank you very much for the invite. We're happy to come back anytime.
Thank you very much. Give a round of applause to all three of our
Merry Christmas.
speakers today. Now, gentlemen, Rotary has a big push to eradicate polio worldwide, and we are this close. Back in the 80s, there was about 250,000 people every year getting new diagnosis of polio. We've got it down to 12 so far in 2023. We are making huge strides in that. In honor of your presence here today as speakers, our club is making a donation to the Rotary Polio Plus Fund, and I've got a gift for each of you in honor of that. Been a police officer in Fort Worth for going on 32 years, and I can tell you right now with certainty, this last several years, especially under Sheriff Wayburn, we have had a relationship between the Fort Worth Police Department and the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office that we've never experienced before. We communicate a lot better, and I'll tell you what, these guys are really, in the last, well, under your tenure, sir, they have stepped up to the plate, and that agency has changed tremendously and gotten so much more professionalism, and I thank you for that. All right, let's get some closing announcements. First of all, holiday cards on your tables. Please sign them, leave them on the table when you're done, or give them to Aurora. Number two, dues are due. Preferable to pay by check. Bring one to the meeting. If you need to do it online, you can use your credit card. Understand our club gets a 3% charge, and that eats into money that we can spend elsewhere. Finance Committee meeting immediately after this program, Imperial Room on the 12th floor. Veterans Committee meeting, President's Conference Room, 11th floor. Next week, Festive Follies. Join us early at 11 a.m. for Eggnog and Punch. And next week, so we had our election. I'm not gonna announce the results yet, because tomorrow morning, those persons who are being elected into our board, we will all elect our officers. I'll make the big announcement next week on who the officers for the 24-25 term are and the new board members. With that, have a great week. Meeting adjourned.
There's nothing to lose in that next game. Made another drink.